There is a bunch of books that are going to be released in 2024 that I am personally super excited about, so I want to share my excitement with you in today's video. And fun fact, 2 of the books that are normally only releasing in January have already been sent out, and one of them I've actually already released, and it is the second book to the Emily Wilde series. So this is Emily Wilde and the Map of the Otherlands, and again this is a very whimsical book cover with like shiny bits in it. And I actually already received this book here in Belgium mid-December, so around the 15th I think, which is exceptional for a book that is supposed to only be released in January, because this was shipped from Waterstones, which is in the UK, so from the moment it ships it takes 2 to 3 days to get to me. And the same goes for the next book on my list, which is the following book to Divine Rivals, which is called Ruthless Vows, and it was actually shipped a few days ago, so I'm expecting it to get here even before Christmas, because the day I'm recording these videos is December 21st. And then on to the books that actually still need to be released next year. The first one on my list is releasing in January, and it is called City of Stardust by Georgia Summers. And it is a book that is described as a young woman descends into a seductive magical underworld of power-hungry scholars, fickle gods and monsters bent on revenge to break her family's curse in this spellbinding contemporary fantasy debut. So I'm really looking forward to it. I will put the cover on screen somewhere here. And this is the only book that is releasing in January. Up next, we have the second book of Tanvi Berua arriving in February. It is called Somewhere in the Deep. I actually read her first book, which was Monsters Born and Made, which I personally really loved because she actually focuses a lot more on aquatic themes in her books. So it's not like in the mountains, in the caves. No, it's really like next to the seaside with rivers, etc. And that's something that I don't really see often. She also, in her first book, introduced us to new monsters, which I really enjoyed. So I'm very much looking forward to her second book. I'm not entirely sure if it will be a standalone like the first one, if it will use the same characters. I personally don't think so, but yeah, very much looking forward to that one. Also in February, the book that follows up on God Killer by Hannah Kaner is coming out. It is called Sunbringer, and we will follow the same storyline. So this is really like continuing the story of the first book, in which we follow a god killer who's trying to kill gods. It's quite literally her job. And also there is a girl involved who is tied to a god, and she's trying to help that girl and god being detached from each other, but it's not entirely clear how they got attached or why they are attached in the first place. And yeah, I really loved how fast-paced book 1 was. I'm really looking forward to book 2. And then March is the month that I am the absolute most excited about, because Empire of the Damned is finally releasing in March. I have pre-ordered 3 different versions from it. The regular version, also a special edition from Waterstones, I think, that is signed. And then there's another 3rd edition that I will be ordering in January from Illumicrate. So I absolutely loved Empire of the Vampire. As you can see there, it's on my bookshelf on display. I have 3 versions of the first book, and I also probably will get 3 versions of the second one, since most of them are already ordered. If you haven't read the first book, we follow this main character who is telling his life story. It is a kind of interview with a vampire, literally, book. It goes very much in depth. There is a lot of like epic world building, story building. The sun has been gone for X amount of years, so you really get that dark, that doom and gloom, which I personally really enjoy in the book. This was also my longest book that I've read this year, apparently. Up next is a release for April, and this book, whenever I found out about it, I'm not sure how I did, but I did anyways, it seems super fun. It is called How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying by Django Wexler. And the only description we have for now is a young woman stuck in a time loop, tires of defending humanity from the Dark Lord, and decides to become the Dark Lord herself. So time loops, like heroes going bad, is something that I kind of relate with. So I have high hopes for this book. I just hope that it is as funny as like the cover and the theme of the book seems to be. We'll see about it. After that, next year in June, I have written down the book Fall Days, which is The Witch's Compendium of Monsters Part 1 by Genoveva Dimova. And the main reason I want to read this is because of the description. It was actually sent to me by a friend of mine who has a more Slavic background. And the description says, The Witcher meets Naomi Novik in this fast-paced fantasy rooted in Slavic folklore from an assured new voice in the genre. So once you start comparing a book series to The Witcher, it has high hopes for me, so I hope that this will compare to it somehow. And I'm also very interested in seeing different backgrounds of fantasy stories, so I'm really intrigued by how this book will be. In August, we have 3 releases that I'm very much looking forward to. The first one is book 2 in the Assistant to the Villain series. As for now, no title has been announced yet. It's just stated as Assistant to the Villain book 2 on Goodreads. I really did enjoy book 1. I hope that book 2 will be as entertaining, maybe even more, because in book 1 we got a lot of character and world building, which I did enjoy. It ended on a super high cliffhanger, so I really want to know how it continues. So that's why I'm really looking forward to book 2. The next book is A Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire. This is the Glimmer Falls series, and I've already read the 2 other books. The first one is A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. The second book is A Demon's Guide to Dating a Witch. And then the third book, of course, is coming out pretty soon. In these books, we always follow the same fixed big set of characters. So the main characters from book 1 also come back in book 2, but as side characters, etc. So it stays in the same realm. There's just introductions of different people into the books, or people who are more in the background of the first book, so side characters become the main characters of the new books. And I personally thoroughly enjoy it. This is light, breezy fantasy romance, which is super entertaining if you ask me. And the last book for August is Ghostsmith. This is the second book to the duology of the first one was Bonesmith. I got this book, I think, through Fairy Loot. Well, I bought it secondhand, but it is a Fairy Loot book. And I was really impressed by how good this book was. This is a young adult fantasy book. However, I felt like the world building and the ideas in it were more complex than I've usually had in young adult fantasy. However, it was a really easy read. It is not super heavy as, for example, Robin Hobb. It is more like a lighter fantasy read. However, it does have a lot of heavier themes. Now, I read Bonesmith in 3 days, I think, because it was so good. I just couldn't stop reading, and I am beyond happy that the next part will be in August next year already, because I'm really, really highly anticipating it. For those of you maybe not familiar with Bonesmith, in Bonesmith we follow a main character who is a bonesmith. She works with bones of the deceased, and we follow her along as she has to go through trials to graduate. Something doesn't really go to plan. She finds certain things that she maybe shouldn't have found, and some way she ends up in an outpost at the edge of the realm that they are protecting. Because there is a war happening, we don't know the exact details at the beginning of the book of said war, and also if they're correct or not, which does get explained during the course of the story. A kidnapping happens at that outpost. She is going to try and save the person who was kidnapped, and she discovers this other part of the world that was very the details about that part of the world were completely wrong from the reality. So I personally really enjoyed this book. I'm very much looking forward to book 2. And then, of course, the last book that I absolutely have to mention is the Empyrean series book 3, as in Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and then this third book. As for now, we know that Rebecca Yarros hasn't started on this particular book yet, or maybe in the meantime she has, I'm not entirely sure. In the interviews that she did after launching Iron Flame, she actually told people that she hadn't even started writing book 3 yet. For now, the date of release is set on December 2024. I really hope that it maybe will be a little bit earlier, or that it is actually December 2024. And of course, by the time that that book will be released, I think I will reread at least book 2, or maybe the first one and the second one as well to the series, because I really enjoy it. If you have no clue what I'm talking about, in Fourth Wing and Iron Flame we follow the same main character, Violet Sorrengale, who in the first book is trying to become a dragon rider in her school, and in the second book we continue on what happens after that. There is a war going on between dragon riders and parts of the realm outside of where they live, and that's the story that we follow. I'm not going to go into too much details because it will contain spoilers. I personally really enjoy this series. It's super hyped. It is everywhere. You cannot enter a bookshop without seeing these books. Like, this book is unavoidable. Every time I go onto Instagram or TikTok or anywhere, I see things about Iron Flame and Fourth Wing. Like, it's ridiculous, honestly, and most bookshops also have them, have special editions. I also own a special edition, it's up there. And I do really get the hype around these books. I just wish that she would have already prepared most of the books, because now I have to wait. And I'm not the most patient person when it comes to books. So these are all the releases that I am personally looking forward to in 2024. Let me know if there's anything that you are looking forward to that I maybe haven't talked about that you think would be a good match for me as well. And also, if you are also looking forward to one of these books, feel free to let me know as well. Wishing you a very happy ending to 2023, and let's see each other again for more videos in 2024. Bye!